So, some of you may know that today there is a solar eclipse. And I thought, what better day to do a review on the Twilight Saga Eclipse. My first point is I thought that the movie didn't go very fluently. By that I mean that it was a bit choppy. It just went from scene to scene, and it was like, oh, Victoria and the young vampires, and then, oh, the lovers, and then, oh, there's Jacob and the wolves. And I thought it was just a bit chapter, and it didn't really fit together very well. Secondly, I thought there were quite a few questionable hairstyles for Kristen Stewart there. One of the scenes, she had part of her hair tied back, and it just looked to me like she was meant to be in Lord of the Rings as one of the elves. That's what I thought first when I saw her. It was a bit iffy to be. I'll talk about the acting now. Let's start with Kristen Stewart, because I'm obviously gonna start with Bella. She is the main part, and in Twilight and New Moon she really had to carry the whole movie. Pretty much the whole movie was on her, and she didn't do it very well. She's not very good at upholding the movie. I think the fact that it was more based on Edward and Jacob's little fights, and it's not so much on Bella, I think Kristen Stewart did a better job at that. And I have to say that the way she delivers her lines and her voice has improved. She's doing better. She's getting better with each move in that. But seriously, her face shows no emotion. Now on to Robert Pattinson. Well, let's just say he gets a lot more chance to smile here, or maybe it's his choice, but he definitely smiles more here, which is much better than just being serious all the time. Now, Jacob, he has a lot more space to sort of express himself here, because, I mean, Bella's trying to pick Edward, Jacob, and so both of them have to be equally in the movie, more or less, and so we see a lot more of Jacob, and I think his character has got more space to develop here, which is good. I just watched interviews with Taylor Lautner and Bryce Dallas Howard, who is the new Victoria, and their favourite book is Eclipse. My favourite book is not. Eclipse is my least favourite book out of the saga, because I just find it kind of boring. I always thought that Eclipse is just sort of the tile the loose ends sort of book, because in it, spoilers people, don't watch this if you don't want spoilers. In Eclipse, basically, Stephenie Meyer kills off Victoria because she doesn't need her anymore. Bella graduates, and she picks Edward, and, you know, she finally agrees to get married. They have a little feud about, you know, compromises and that sort of thing, tying up loose ends. So I found it, I don't really like the book, therefore I didn't really like the plot of the movie that much, because it was just filling in and tying up the little stuff. So in that way, this one was not as interesting to me as the other ones. On the other hand, this one had quite a lot of action, I have to say. Visually, we got a lot more of, instead of just Kristen Stewart all the time, we got more vampires and werewolves, which has got a bit more variation. A very good part that I have to mention is the tent scene. The tent scene is, if you don't know, where Bella is all cold, and it's right before the fight with Victoria and her new little vampires, and Jacob has to warm her up because he's like a radiator, so he has to hug her, to the horror of Edward. In my opinion, it's insanely good. So well done, David Slade. This is one of the most important scenes, and he's done it quickly. In Twilight, as I've said in my New Moon review, that it's so serious. Hardly any jokes, but not very genuine jokes even then. And in New Moon, step it up a notch, a little more funny. Here, it was more light-hearted, definitely. What I completely did not understand is the end. So throughout the whole saga, Bella keeps on saying, oh my god, I'm so in love with Edward, I can't live without him, that's why I'm becoming a vampire, I just want to be with him forever, I don't want to get old and all of that, I just want to forever be with him. And even though, you know, she kind of goes for Jacob for a little sec and all of that, she will always be with Edward. And that's the idea, that just that love is so strong that you just want to be with this person forever. The end, for some reason, she just declares that I'm not becoming a vampire just because of you, Edward, I'm becoming a vampire because of me, because, you know, I've always not been normal, and yeah. Why? I mean, I don't remember the ending to the book, but I'm pretty sure she never says directly that it's not because of him. So as most of you know, Twilight was a pretty low budget film. So, you know, it wasn't effects and all of that. It wasn't that good in that sort of sense. And the camera even... The shots, to be honest, Catherine Hardwicke can't really... She's not a very good director. Sorry for her. Sorry to her, but she's not that good a director in my opinion. But obviously, I know a lot of people who love Twilight and hate New Moon and hate Eclipse, don't like the way it's going. But I prefer New Moon and Eclipse. And so in New Moon, you know, completely wowed by all the effects and all of that, loving it, yep. In Eclipse it's the same thing. Effects, insanely cool, brilliant, but nothing new. Not the only bit which I didn't really like is the fact that some effects I would say are just put in randomly, just dropped in to make it more interesting. On the other hand, things like the title sequence, for example, were amazing to look at. It was just so beautiful. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. In New Moon, I said that I was a bit worried for David Slade, because David Slade has done movies like 30 Days of Night. Yes, that involves vampires, evil vampires and all of that, but it's mostly dark movies that he did. I didn't think he could pull off the romance in this, but he did. I think he did it very well actually, and he pulled off the action sequences and the obviously the darker side to it. I think he did quite a good job with the actual filming of the characters, because Robert Pattinson and Taylor Lautner and Kristen Stewart, well, they're not the sort of actors that when you film them from any side they look absolutely amazing. There are particular angles where they look good, unfortunately. For them, the director has to find those angles in order to make it look good, obviously. And I think David Slade did a pretty good job with that, because it's not always possible, but most of the time he captured them perfectly. Especially Edward. Because Robert Pattinson from some angles looks crazed, from other angles looks gorgeous. So most of this review I've kind of pointed out the little bad things that I noticed and the bits I didn't really like. The things I did like, I suppose, I just like the story of it. I like the idea. That's why I watch. That's why I read the books and that's why I watch the movies, because I like the idea. I can't really do a very excited review about this movie because I'm not that excited about it. As I said, in my opinion, it's sort of the filler-in part of the saga. The side of Eclipse that I most enjoyed is definitely the humour. There are very funny parts, and obviously Charlie, always funny. He's a very funny actor, and just the humour was very good in this, and it sort of lifts the mood of the movie. One thing I can say for sure is that in order to complete the saga, you need Eclipse to tie all the ends. It's not that interesting for me, but it is needed to tie up all the ends. And plus, if you do go to the cinema to see it, and get a large soft drink and a large popcorn, you also get this insanely cool little key ring, little memorabilia there. And yeah, there you go. So that was pretty much it, and I'll see you for the Breaking Dawn review.